Forbes came out and said that from 2016 to 2023, 33,000 Americans renounced their nationality. But in 2009, it was less than 10% of that. Why are all the Americans renouncing their citizenship? What makes them want to do it? What's happening in the United States? And what would be my recommendations for options for them if they wanted to stay there and have a second passport as a plan B, or to actually move overseas and start a new life, or if they really wanted to go the whole 9 yards and actually renounce their citizenship. I'm going to tell you right now. This is Jeremy Savory from Millionaire Migrant. 10 years ago, I left the UK and built one of the largest investment migration firms in the world. And I'm going to be telling you all the experiences that I've had with all the clients I've met from different walks of life and what drove them to obtain a second nationality, to have another residency, or really just to have something that made them happier because they were not happy with what was happening in their home country with their primary nationality. What's going on in the United States? I was there a couple of months ago. I met a lot of Americans there. I met probably 30, 40, 50. I was speaking to them at a conference which was centered around tax and immigration. And they were telling me all the things that they've noticed. There was obviously a lot of negativity, a lot of complaining, and a lot of resentment towards what's happening in their country. But there was also a lot of naivete and curiosity about all the things that were open to them that they could do in the world today. You know, I'm a bit older now. I've seen a lot of the world, but I wouldn't mind going back to having that energy to try and see what's out there, and knowing that you could trace your ancestry and get citizenship, that you could move to another country and obtain a nationality, or even obtain a much more attractive tax rate, or even just kind of living off the grid in Paraguay, whatever floats your boat. That was a lot of the conversations were about. But at the same time, there also had to be some kind of propulsion or stimulation that would make them want to leave that country. So what were the issues? Well, I can tell you straight off the bat, tax. Tax has always been an issue as long as it's ever been introduced in its old terms as tithing. But the reality is it's just getting higher and higher, which is also a bad thing, but it's compounded by the fact that the cost of living is also getting higher and higher. Immigration is something that is an extremely sore topic that a lot of people were coming to me and complaining about, which is ironic, right? Because there's immigration coming in, so they're looking to emigrate. But there's just, I think, generally a kind of feeling that what was once a free country or a leader of the free world is not so free anymore. They're feeling a lack of control, a lack of agency around what's happening in their life. They're also being taken advantage of, you know, like Boeing, and just the fact that, you know, everything is there just to make money at the risk of personal safety. You got price gouging, you got big pharma, you got the food companies. I mean, I'm someone that is a little bit tricky now about food the older I get. And when I was in the US, it was just like, you know, like, you really don't need this. You have a lot of agricultural land, and you have a lot of farming and you can pastoral options, but you just, you know, corn syrup and sugar and all that type of stuff. And I just think that people are just going, hold on a minute, like, I need to try and take action about this. But what kind of action can you take when ultimately you have to, somebody's going to be in charge of your life? And you'll notice that a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about throughout this on my channel is about taking ownership over your actions, being in control of your sovereignty, escaping the monopoly that country or countries have on you. And the first step to do that is being able to educate yourself about what's out there. Countries around the world compete for talent and capital. So if you have one or the other or both, every country in the world is out there looking for you and trying to attract you and give you incentives to come there, much as they would for any business that would be looking to, I don't know, open a factory in a country or to build a hotel in that country. You are also of interest to these people, to these countries, to these politicians, and they design programs to bring you to come to their country. So that's out there. This is why people are leaving. Let's tell you the options that are out there for residency and largely citizenship, as well as citizenship by descent options, if you're looking to renounce, or if you're not looking to renounce and you just want to know what your options are. You know, stay in the United States, but just trace your ancestry and get another nationality, a European nationality, if you will. It won't cost you anything. It's the best deal in the world. But just to know that you've got something else. go to the Caribbean, invest in one of those countries and have something that is a holiday home, but also is a place that you can go if things get a little bit spicy, like they were, when Trump was in his last days. Whatever it may be, they need to know that there are options for them. I'm going to go through all those options depending on how far away you want to go. Like, let's say you just want to have something in your back pocket, or maybe you want to go, as I mentioned, the whole 9 yards and say, you know what, like I don't feel this is my place anymore, and I have another country that is willing to take me into their embrace. But I think it's mainly illegal immigration. It's the taxes. It's funding wars, which, do I get a say in this? Do I want to be part of this war? If it's increasing my cost of living, then I don't really want to do it. And I think that money would be better invested in my home country. And as a Brit who has seen the impact of Brexit firsthand, I was there just last week. It wasn't the right decision, but guess what? It's democracy, and more than half the people voted for it. If you were to ask the same people now whether it was a good idea, they would all shake their heads and say, no, it wasn't a good idea. But the decision has been made. But I'm an outsider. I don't live in the UK. I live overseas, and I go and live in countries where even if I did have the right to vote, I wouldn't vote anyway. I look after me, my team, my tribe, my family. And I do what's best for myself, because I know that I'm not, as much as I have a lot to give for the country where I was born, and the other country that has given me naturalization, and the other country that has given me a citizenship, and the other country I will get through my wife or wherever I move to next. I understand that there's a lot out there, and that's the amazing thing, that I don't need to be tied to something. Because I think if we're in denial, if we are not accepting that as the world changes, we are all finding out that we have links to more than one country. And I think that is something that can be explored further. Okay, so before I start going into things like politics and politicians and all that other rubbish stuff, what I'm going to tell you is that you don't have to go the whole 9 yards to do renunciation. You can do it, but it's a personal choice. And we'll do another video which is specifically talk about renunciation, and we'll be talking about all the experiences that we've had through the company. But right now, let's go through some of the options that are out there for those people that want to just know what's out there. I don't want to rank it in terms of what's best and what's second best and third, fourth, because it's purely subjective. It really depends on you, your goals. I learned a long time ago in this business, is like, there's a lot of companies out there, which is before you even pick up the phone, tell them your name, what you do, what you did, what you want to do, your family size, your nationality, your residency. They'll just tell you this product. And they'll say to the one who calls the phone after you, and the next one and the next inquiry, they'll say the same thing. I've learned from the beginning, everybody's different. And that's why in some families, we've helped them to have multiple nationalities, because it just made financial sense, or it just helped them to achieve their objectives. So I'm just going to list a few of them, and you can decide what works for you. And then we'll also explain a little bit a few of the 2 countries which I think I'm starting to change my mind on, and I'll tell you the reasons why. So E2 is a visa waiver option, which is for which certain countries have, and they have that agreement with the United States, so that once you are a citizen of that country, you need to show ties to that country as well to kind of prove that you are actually a resident as well as a citizen. But ultimately, it means you can go back and forth to the United States despite no longer having your American nationality. So Grenada, if we all follow recent history, we'll know that US was involved in there, but that is one of those passports that allows you to have the E2 access. The prices have changed recently. They've been changing over the years in all of the 5 Caribbean states that allow dual citizenship, but Grenada is around $230,000, $235,000. But it also has a real estate option. As always, you need to be really cautious about real estate, particularly in Grenada. One of the main reasons why is that, based on the data, it's one of the least attractive places to actually get involved in real estate because of the acquisition and exit costs, right? Taxes, brokers' fees, all of that. But if it's a place that you want to have, and you want to see capital growth, and you want to have a place to stay, and you want to basically have closer ties to your second country, it's a good place to invest. I've been there many times. Chocolate there is great. I'm a big chocolate fan. They make their own. It's a big deal down there. Going to the other side of the world, New Zealand is very attractive for a lot of people. If you're from the United States and you want to have some of the rolling hills and you want to have people that speak English, you're going to like it. The problem is it's much, 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 much smaller than United States. But cost of living right now, being an island, everything that's cost of living everywhere, it's a little bit elevated. It's a bit expensive. It's also got quite a stringent immigration policy as well. A lot of that happened post-pandemic. After 5 years, you can apply for nationality. It's an English language test. It will be a breeze if you're American, I would hope. Then you've got 3 EU options, which we want to tell you about, which have E2. So you've got Portugal, you've got Poland, you've got Ireland. Now, Ireland, obviously easiest just for, proximity to United States, very simple and similar Anglo connections. I find it a bit rainy, if I'm honest, but if you're from a rainy part of the United States, you'll like it. Other than this, you've got also Portugal and Poland. Now, Ireland, Portugal, and Poland, you have the citizenship by descent option, which I keep telling people, I did it myself, French nationality. I did it over 10 years ago. It's a lot of documentation, a lot of running around. But if you think about it, for what you pay, for what you get, you don't just become a citizen of that country. You have access to all the European Union member states as well. So it's a tier 1 passport, but with a lot of added benefits. So if you can trace your ancestry from any of these 3 countries, that would be the best thing to do. Failing that, I would say probably Portugal. I spent time in Portugal as a resident. I didn't have any ties with it before, but having spent time living there, investing there, businesses, funds, companies, there's a lot of things about that kind of Southern Europe way of doing business that was really quite off-putting. But in terms of the people, the hospitality, the cost of living is the second lowest in Western Europe, if not the lowest. And when you put that in a high inflation environment, and plus it has a low tax, or did have a very low tax program, it was extremely attractive. But you've also got the golden visa. Still today, one of the few places you can invest with a path towards acquiring a European nationality, but with such a low minimal stay threshold. That's why a lot of people like it. And that's why when you go there, there's a lot of Americans there already. And lastly, you've got Poland. Poland, an economic powerhouse, doing very well. I bought an apartment there, I think 20 something years ago. It come out all right, but it wasn't the best deal of my life in terms of real estate. But I was there recently just signing some papers. A very Catholic country, geographically located. You've got it's very well positioned to a lot of other countries if you want to go around there. And it's something that might interest a lot of people. Business there and doing business, ease of doing business is also very attractive too. Now, here are some other programs which I think are interesting if your objectives align with what I'm trying to say. So if you're someone that wants to have another nationality, but you're looking at real estate, Antigua right now is probably, I don't want to take favoritism. We're authorized in a lot of different governments, but I would just say if you want to have real estate, you want bricks and mortar, you want freehold, you want to have something that you think is going to really going to have a very good exit strategy. There's a lot of choice in Antigua. Some of the projects are more advanced in terms of construction. Some of them you can just buy the plot, build your own thing as well. But Antigua is a big island, 365 beaches. They say 1 beach for every day of the year, but it's a beautiful country. My wife and I have been there a couple of times. Really nice beaches. You could probably kind of live there as well, which I find some of the other countries which have a smaller landmass, not so much. But if you want to do something which like, look, I don't want to donate to the government and have a non-refundable investment, I would like to have a real estate. I'd say Antigua. I'd say if you're looking at something fast and strong, I'd say St. Kitts and Nevis. It's going through very quickly right now. We just handed over one to a very famous sports star, and it was 7 months from start to finish. Probably could have done it in 6. There was a couple of hiccups along the way. The price is about starting from $250,000. If you're looking for something where you want to be able to spend time, get a very advantageous territorial tax position, and then be able to apply within a very short period of time, South America, Uruguay, small country, places like Punta del Este on the coast, very elite kind of Hampton style living, live there for a few years, get to learn your Spanish, get a very strong passport, one of the in the top 40 in the world, and you have visa-free access to UK, Schengen, and over 140, 55 countries. Very powerful. That one, if you want to go down that path. And then there's just another couple of two, which probably I'm starting to have a second thoughts about, but I think it could be interesting for you, and I'll tell you why. Vanuatu and Turkey. Vanuatu, not so much. I've never been really the biggest fan of that program because from a pure, we've been processing nationalities for 15 years now. Vanuatu always had, challenges. So I was never a big fan. And as time has gone on, I've been proved to be correct on this. But today it is a particular type of client that would like the Vanuatu. Why? Because it takes its own stance. Sometimes it is a double-edged sword if you are a sovereign state and you want to have visa-free access to United Kingdom, the EU, or any kind of US bilateral relations. It is a double-edged sword because some people say, you know what, like that means that kind of like if something happens tomorrow and any of those three entities has a problem with it, I'm also kind of part of that. So people like to go Vanuatu because they just don't want that country to be have any influence exerted on it. I would probably go no that far as to having a small Pacific island, which is extremely close to China. I would probably go to Turkey. And I'm really starting to look at Turkey's positioning in the global political stage, the geopolitical stage. I really find that Turkey is something that can be with NATO, but can also have obviously the E2 access to the US, but it doesn't have visa-free to those countries. It's a very large state. It is in a key geopolitical location, which I think gives it a lot of strength. So I don't think that if you're a citizen of that country, you shouldn't be concerned with any outside pressures. And I think if you're one of those, let's say Americans, North Americans, or any nationality that feel that you have a real problem with government overreach. Now, I'm not saying Turkey doesn't have its historical problems and the guy in charge is the best guy in charge, but ultimately, there's a lot to be said about having a country that can stand on its own 2 feet, but also its real estate. And now that the Caribbean has increased its price threshold, the difference from there to there is about $100,000. But when you look at the real estate market, the liquidity of the market, the demand for that market, I know a lot of clients who spend their holidays there, do business in there. Turkish Airlines flies everywhere. So I think Turkey is something that I'm really starting to reconsider. So whether it's getting a second nationality from any of the 8 countries that officially allow it, or getting citizenship by exception is something else that we have experience in, or if you want to be naturalized in a certain country, or if you want to trace your ancestry and you want us to help you to do it. I did it for myself, so I have a lot of experience in having done it. More than happy through me and my team to guide you on that process. Go to our website, contact us, be more than happy to share that with you. But as I mentioned to you, I think generally speaking, 2024 is a defining moment in terms of how we as citizens see the leaders and how they're making decisions and the impact it's having on us. My personal opinion, I voted once, probably when I was 20, 21, 22, something like this, voted, realized it didn't make any difference, realized that even if it had made a difference, how was it going to impact me? I realized at that stage, as well as everything else, is like trying to expect other things to positively impact you. It's kind of almost the opposite of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just do it yourself, right? It comes from French, right? Entreprendre, somebody who undertakes something. So undertake your own actions, do your own things, but hoping for some politician, which I don't want to go down that path, but politicians really, you really got my best interests at heart. They don't see you. You're just numbers on a piece of paper. But if you do think so, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much.